Hi everyone, today I'm going to be doing a book review on The Dark Wolf's Awakening. This is a fantasy adventure. Right off the bat, let me just say it's slow to begin with. Not necessarily because of like the world building, but it's just kind of like setting everything in motion. So for me, the first, 4 or 5 chapters were pretty slow. I felt like they were pretty predictable, but eventually it gets much better. It gets much more fast paced. Stuff starts to happen. So like, just if you are planning on reading this or listening to the audiobook like I did, just hang in there at least until the first battle. In my mind's eye, this is kind of set up in not necessarily like medieval kind of settings, but kind of like that, because it talks about castles and strongholds. They don't have guns, they have swords, daggers, axes, clubs, and they're the main character, his name is Valiant, and he's a wolf kind. So he kind of is like a werewolf. So he's in human form, okay? But when he transforms, he turns into like a 7-foot tall werewolf or wolf guy, however you want to phrase it. Not only is there werewolves, there's like were-bears, were-tigers, were-coyotes, you see what I'm saying though? So there's like this wide variety of different were-animals. He is an orphan. He was kind of adopted into this program where they just teach a bunch of like young kids how to fight, and that's basically all they do. Is you have to fight to get into a house, and if you get into a house, then you're like a warrior and you can go off to war. You can work for that specific house and like guard them or whatnot. So when they're doing their final academy run through, basically, Valiant starts to experience like all these weird different like urges. It's almost like he's going through werewolf puberty. He gets pulled to the side by his commanding officer, and when he shifts, because he does tell him to shift, he is an all-black werewolf, meaning he's from the Feral House. Now the Feral House was originally leaders before. They were very strong, very aggressive. They, just conquered the empire and just like ran business. But then they got defeated. And their kind was basically run into extinction. So he is literally the last of that family line. Okay. Now, the ones in charge now, if I remember correctly, are actually like of the big cat variety, is the emperors of the country. So Valiant is now, I think he's a lieutenant. He has his own group of soldiers that he got to handpick, that he wanted for his group. They have to go to another stronghold because they're fighting these lizard creatures. To me, it sounds like they're giant lizards, and there's 3-4 different kinds. There's like clickers that make clicking sounds. They're small, maybe like 4 or 5 feet tall. There's giant brutes who are 7-8 feet tall and just like dumb brutes, right? And then there's regular ones that are normal. And then like the 4th one would be the mythical white one that leads them all. So these lizard kind are very mean. They end up killing a ton of people and like skinning them alive. It's weird. Like all they do is kill, eat, and reproduce, right? They don't really have like a mind of their own. That's why like there's that mythical white one that tells them what to do and where to go. Lizard people, to me, in my mind's eye, kind of remind me, if you've ever played the first Dark Alliance, the original one, it goes in different like chapters. So it's like the last chapter or the second to last chapter when you're in the swamp trying to make it to the giant castle. Like, those lizard people is kind of what I imagined in my head when I was listening to the audiobook. In this world, all the creatures or all the people, the were people, have auras. So what I mean is that they can use their aura to influence other were people. So the stronger the blood is, like the generation, so if they've been, like, their family houses have been around for several generations, they have the strongest auras. Whereas someone who is an orphan is usually has a very weak aura. So Valian, coming from a very strong bloodline, because he's a descendant of a very powerful bloodline, his aura is very overpowering. It's like stronger than even the princess of this land. So when he is arguing with generals or other first lieutenants or captains, he can use his aura, which he's not supposed to, but you know, he gets angry and it slips because you can control it, but if you're too upset, it'll get leaked out. And when his gets leaked out, people get terrified of him. Nobody gets irritated until he puts his aura back in. So if he gets angry and his aura slips, it talks about how like captains and generals kind of like shrink, or they look shocked or scared. Not that any of them look mad, but that they look scared and terrified. So most of the story is just Valian finding his place in the world again now that he has reached a new position in life. Again, like I said, it was really slow to begin with, like the first 4 chapters, but it starts getting more interesting when he like gets his war horse and he starts getting challenges from other lieutenants. And once they finally get to battle, that was really interesting to me. So once it gets to that point, I think it's a lot better. I also like the fact that Valian doesn't fall in love with like the first girl he meets, because when they are growing up in this facility or this academy, the men are separated from the women until they graduate, and then they merge together. So he does get introduced to the female species, but I like the fact that he doesn't just like blindly fall in love with like the first one that comes around. And I like the fact that when he's kind of betrayed, he takes it very seriously. He's not very light when it comes to somebody betraying him. He doesn't forgive easily or at all, which I actually enjoyed that part, because I was concerned that with one of the females, he was just going to like be totally okay with it and just like try to pursue her as a dating option or a mate option. So I'm glad that didn't happen. Do I recommend this book? I do. I think it was a good book. A lot of the again, I thought the fighting style was done really well. I liked the ending. I liked how it didn't turn out the way I was expecting necessarily. So I enjoyed the fact that it was kind of a surprise, and it was a good surprise. I appreciate you guys watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you next time. As a side note, hopefully my next video will be me reviewing The Darkest Heart. I have like 9 hours left of that, so hopefully I will get to that soon. It's been a long journey for that book. Bye everyone.